Hello there. I don't know what I'm gonna say. There's so much I could share, but I don't know what is the best thing to share. I guess I just wanted to close out my little addiction challenge series, or whatever you want to call it. Um, the third day was, you could say, the hardest day. I got into an argument with my mother at the end of the day. Um, I don't know how to talk about that, but basically, she, I was eating some food that she had made, and it was, healthy. It was a healthy soup, and she was saying, don't put vinegar in it. This is basically what happened. Like, I wanted to put some apple cider vinegar in it, and then she said, you don't want to put that in it. It makes yeast in your body. So I was like, okay. And then, I mean, that was actually hard for me to do, to hear, because I had been using apple cider vinegar for a while. I don't know that apple cider vinegar is fermented. She explained how it's fermented, and I'm supposed to put it in soup, I guess. But anyway, then I put some nutritional yeast on the soup, which is a different thing than the kind of yeast. It's nutritional yeast is a condiment that it's deactivated yeast. So you could say it's quote dead yeast. Um, anyway, I put a little bit on, and she said, "Put more. Put at least two times more." And then I put some olive oil in, and I was concerned when I put the olive oil in that I shouldn't put too much because there is an issue of how much fat you want to eat. Fatty foods. Olive oil is all oil or fat. I don't know. That's it's not it's oil and fat. I don't know if that's the same thing, but I understand that fat is like solid oil, I think. So she said, I was concerned about putting in olive oil or too much, and I put in a little bit, and then she said, put more olive oil. So, oh, okay. Did I say? Oh no, no, I didn't. I didn't finish the part about the nutritional yeast. So I put a little bit of nutritional yeast on. She told me to put three times more nutritional yeast on my food. And then I put in some salt, I think, and there was something else. She told me to cut the vegetables in the soup. Oh yeah, there was miso. So miso is a Japanese um, soy something, and I put in a little bit of miso. I put like a teaspoon of miso, and then she said, put twice that much. And I don't know which one was the last one of the things she told me what to do with regards to my food, but I uh, I kind of snapped, and I didn't like get violent or crazy or yell, but I realized as she was telling me these things, I felt like I was being so controlled, and I just couldn't eat anymore. I couldn't eat the food that was in front of me. I felt sick, and I felt, and it actually turned out to be a very tasty soup. It was really good, um, but just the idea of taking the spoon and grabbing some, ladling some soup onto the spoon and putting it in my mouth. See, there's some, I don't know what that is. Just the idea of that was so torturous to me. It was really hard for me to do because I felt like it's so hard to explain it. I wrote down later what trying to explain how I felt, but basically it's kind of this dead feeling, a dying feeling, and that has to do with my history with my mother. And I told her, I feel like you're controlling me. You're telling me what to do with my food. And she said that, no, I'm not. I'm not doing that. And she said, I'm sorry you feel that way. So she's not like, I don't know. I'm sharing this with the world, but she's not taking responsibility for what she's doing. And in my mind, she's the one that raised me. And even though I've stayed away from my mother for years, I still kind of, and I think we all understand this to some degree. I want her approval in my life. When I was in Bridgeport alone, away from family for about 7 years, um, I every decision I made on food was filtered through, what my mom thought was good, what my mom thought was bad to eat, and so I wasn't. I don't really feel like I was making any of my own decisions. The only time that I was making my own decisions was when I was eating junk food. But of course, there was a constant, you know, spray of self judgment while I was eating. When I eat junk food, there's a lot of self anger and self punishment and self judgment that I engage in because um, I don't know. It's obviously wrong. If you eat McDonald's or if you eat half a bag of Oreo cookies or more brownies than you should, or to the point that you feel a little sick, you know how you feel. It doesn't feel good. It's pretty clear, but you still have to do it if you're an overeater. Not everybody has my problem, but I know there's a lot that do. Anyway, um, so basically, I couldn't eat the meal anymore, and I began arguing with my mother, and it was pretty ugly. I mean, I wasn't yelling so much, but I was kind of like trying to be as straightforward and direct with her as possible without losing my cool. And I might have lost my cool a little bit. I mean, I just felt I couldn't deal with it, couldn't deal with the situation. And I kind of had this, at one point I was like, I should get out of here, I should leave. But I thought I have to like draw this line in the sand. I have to tell my mom what she's doing. And she was making a lot of excuses for what she was doing. And it made a little bit of sense, but basically what I'm saying is that during that whole argument, I was like really going back and forth, like what is happening here? Who is right? Is there someone who's right? She knows a lot about health stuff. She's a cook. She's a good cook. She's been around food her whole life. She's been a mother. Surely she'd know about these things. Surely she could advise me about these things. But I didn't really feel like I was asking for her advice. I was grateful that she had made me a meal, but as soon as she was telling me all these things, and it was just so obvious, there was like 5 or 6 separate things that she was directly telling me what to do while I was eating. And it was, I don't know where she was at the moment, but I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't deal with it. And I went upstairs. I knew this was a big deal. I started writing a letter to God. I almost wish I could share it with people, but I don't think the material of it would really be understood by people. So it's a lot of personal stuff. So I don't think I will. But even through that letter, I was trying to explain what happened and what I felt as she was telling me what to do. And I explained about the apple cider vinegar and whether I should put it in or not. And I remember the first time I started using apple cider vinegar myself, which I thought it was a big achievement. I don't necessarily like vinegar. I know vinegar is a household name. I don't know how you use vinegar, and yet I was learning about vinegar, and I began using it, and I felt kind of proud of myself that I was learning about vinegar. It's a really small thing, but um, I felt I was getting my mother's approval, and so I traced back in the letter like the moment that I started using apple cider vinegar by myself in Fargo, and how good I felt because this is a product my mother would buy. I read about apple cider vinegar, you know, started using it, used it regularly, grew to like it. And here my mom says, don't put any apple cider vinegar in your soup. I'm like, what is she talking about? She didn't understand all that, but to me it's like I did something right, mom, and now you're telling me it's wrong. And she told me how I should properly use apple cider vinegar if I do use it, because apparently there is a good way to use it. And what she said was that what you want to do is you want to drink it like 20 minutes before. You want to put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in a glass of water or juice or whatever, I guess. Maybe 20 minutes before your meal. And you don't want to just swallow it right down, because if you do that, then you'll build yeast in your body. What you want to do is you want to swish it in your mouth before you swallow it. It's like, oh, what? That I haven't read in any of the stuff I've read about apple cider vinegar. And here I'm making an 11-minute video about apple cider vinegar. Who wants to hear about this? But that that idea triggered me a lot. That because I had been drinking apple cider vinegar regularly, a little bit in my drink, thinking that it was good for me, and the idea that there's because this is a problem I think in the health world, in the diet world, and yeah, in those there's no and after that, in the health and diet world. Okay, you get into these ritual based habits where you walk first thing in the morning. For me, I take a crap and then I in the morning every morning, and then I take a shower. I wipe myself and then I take a shower. And there's a reason for that. I'm not going to go into that, but like people get into these rituals. You see people that jog every morning. That I can't even imagine how torturous the idea of jogging every morning would be. I mean, jogging just seems so freaking. I don't know if the right word is fascist or totalitarian. It feels like. I guess I've been watching a lot of Noam Chomsky videos, but it feels so such a like a such. It feels like such a forced activity to actually jog, and you're not going anywhere. You're just doing it so that you're healthy. Because if you don't do that, you won't remain fit and trim, and you get like a runner's high. And if you look good, I think you get good looks, which are nice. But I don't think there's many people really particularly like jogging. However, there is this addictive feeling in many that if they don't do the jog that day, then they feel awful with themselves, and that's just it's like an addiction. That it's a withdrawal from an addiction. You got to get that serotonin or whatever for that day, and if you don't do it, then anyway, rituals. In the health and diet world, whether it's making sure you have kale every day, or I don't know what the latest diet trend is, or you drink like a half gallon of water every day, or whatever. You get into this ritual lifestyle, and it's no longer something that you want to do. Life in that world, in the world of ritual, is not a joyful, exciting pursuit. It's not an adventure. It is, I have to do this or else. And there's something that every ounce of me rebels against that notion. And so that's why this idea, I wish I could explain it better. And I feel like I'm getting to know myself a little bit, but even in talking about this, but the idea of taking some apple cider vinegar and swishing it in my mouth 20 minutes before I started eating, and that becoming a ritual was very. I just don't want to. I don't. I want to eat good food because I want to eat good food. I want to enjoy food. I want to be happy about food. I don't want to eat food or or engage in any habits because this is what I have to do, and that is the same for exercise for any other endeavor. So there's so much I can say. I'm going to try and depart from that topic without any segue. Um, Basically, I was so low after that, and I was kind of losing my mind. I was talking to myself. I was like, even after I wrote the letter, I got really angry at one point and shouted, screamed at the top of my lungs, and pounded the table. And at the end of the letter, I didn't know if my mom was right or if I was right, and that was a big problem for me. It's just like I feel like I never come to any conclusion in my life. I never grow. I don't change. I don't progress. I just, in the end, you get older, and older means worse because your body begins to fail. That's this awful cloud that hangs over me that everybody knows in the back of their mind. I'm aging. I'm getting worse, but they don't want to acknowledge that that's happening, and they just excuse it, say, "Well, it's just the way of the world." But I don't believe it's the way of the. I mean, it is the way the world is going, but I don't believe it's necessary. I don't. If God is real and God doesn't want us to suffer, then why would He create a system in which we age and our body systems begin to fail instead of growing? At some point, we begin to degrade, and our health becomes worse. And by our health becoming worse, it simply means that we can't do what we did before. We can't function in the way we did before. So where am I going with all of this? It's really hard to accept the idea that you're getting worse, and that's how I feel. And I I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I don't feel like I'm proving anything. I don't know necessarily any better than I did before that God is real, which is I so truly believe is one of the number one things. I think it's the number one thing for me. I would I would isolate that as the number one piece of knowledge that I would like to accumulate in my life. Incontrovertible knowledge. Once it's known, it can't be unknown. I would like to know that thing. If there's a way that I can know whether there's a God or not, beyond a shadow of a doubt, to where it can't be unproven. What's that word that they use in the X Files? Refuted. It can't be refuted. Then that's the first time I heard the word refute. I was like, whoa, it's a cool word. That then I feel like that would be a big moment for me to realize that there is a God, to know it through my entire matrix of who I am. So, where am I going with all this? I don't feel like I've gone anywhere. I don't feel like I've necessarily learned anything through that experience with my mother. All of that I know is that I felt like I was dying, and if it's possible, it was the worst moment of the 3 day challenge. And the next that night, it's funny. Throughout this entire challenge, this is something else I wanted to say. Every one of the points that I have been trying to, every addiction that I've been trying to go against, I failed a little bit in each one, and I know those failures very, very well. So in pornography, um, I didn't look at any porn, but I would look at pictures of beautiful women online with their clothes on and celebrities and whatnot. And then I would also fantasize failure. With videos, I wouldn't watch any videos, but I did see a few videos. I saw one of my own videos that I made a long ago. That made long ago is called "The Soulmates: A Psychological Romance." Great video. I think that got one of the most views out of all my videos in my last channel, and I'm so happy about that because that is such a wonderful story. It's actually not. It's nothing that I've written. It's something that someone else has written. But I watched that. I watched half of it, and I listened to YouTube music videos. So I don't know if I crossed the line with, the challenge was to not watch any videos at all. But I did find myself watching some videos. The third one was not masturbating. I did actually masturbate the third night, not to orgasm, but I just found myself beginning to masturbate. It's just this. Sorry to do that if anyone is triggered by that, but um, I had to have that motion. I had to touch myself. I really had to touch myself. So I found myself beginning to do it. Now, it wasn't even for that long. It was maybe 4 minutes. I enjoyed the feeling, then I moved on. As far as overeating, I did overeat a few times. As far as what's the other one? Not eating junk food. I had some jam. Is jam junk food? I don't know. Should I write a list of all the things that I want to eat and what I can't eat? I've done that before. That is a really heady process. Really hard to do. I only have like 2 minutes to talk, so I have to wrap this up. But basically, in every area, I failed a little bit. This is kind of a cool. Ooh, my hand gets bigger. Getting distracted. I'm going to pause this so I can collect what I want to say in my last minute. Yeah, I think I just want to say that the challenge pretty much went very smoothly, except at the very end, I had this huge issue with my mother, and to this moment, I don't know if she's right or I'm right. I don't know if she had a proper motivation, and I was triggered way too hard, or if I was identifying some wrong behavior that she needs to look at and improve herself. And I need to exit situations where she deals with me and treats me in such a bad fashion if she refuses to address it in herself. Um, but that led me straight into really suicidal thoughts and self anger and self punishment and depression and talking to myself, kind of getting schizophrenic, going crazy. And so I know I hit something big. And the last 2 days, all I've done was, or this morning and yesterday, all I did was binge, and I went back into bad behaviors. So was this a success? I don't know. A lot happened. I don't feel hopeful for the future, honestly. I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. So if that's a demarcation for success or failure, then it was a failure because I don't feel any hope at this moment. Um, this video, I've been able to talk pretty smoothly, but the last, I don't know, 35 hours, it's been kind of a whirlwind. No, I'd say 48 hours since the evening of the last day of my 3 day fast, my 3 day challenge. Just want to say thank you, people, for whoever decided to watch all this, and maybe it means something to you, and maybe you'll look at your own addictions in your own life. 25 minutes, I'm going to go, and yeah, that's all. God bless.